I wrote the book, or I started writing the book. They started out as journals, but I started writing the book when I was 16. And at first I wasn't going to. I didn't like the idea of like, I don't know, making that part of my life that I've kept so extremely private and under wraps public. I kind of remember like being in the car with my mom after like getting like, I don't know, Taco Bell. And we were talking about like, you know, my experience. And I was a sophomore in high school. And at that time, like my relationship with my mom was a bit rocky. And like some of it had to do with the fact that like I was dealing with all of these changes and dealing with being in high school and trying to navigate that while also dealing with like parental incarceration and not having help because I didn't really have any resources there for me to like reach out to. I didn't know about any organizations that were available to me because it's not something that's made accessible to me. It's like something that I have to actively seek out. And when you don't know that they exist, like you don't know where to look. But I remember talking with my mom and she was like, oh, like, why don't people like, you know, write, I don't know, movies? Like, why don't they make movies about this stuff or documentaries? Like, and she goes like, what if you wrote a book? And I was like, no, that's crazy. I couldn't imagine that. And at the time, I just thought that that would be like social suicide. And especially like being in high school and I didn't know how other people would react. I honestly thought more people would like judge me, like judge my character based on like my background, like based on something that my parents did or the situation that my parents are in. And it took a lot for me to be able to come to a place where like I could sit down and write about it because like talking about it was so hard. Like I couldn't talk about it. So like writing about it like kind of helped. And it started out as journals. And then I remember my mom like reading like one of the first like couple of journals. And I think it was like really important for her to read as well, for her to hear as well, because like you don't get it until like you have to go through it as well and like be under like the honestly unimaginable pressures of like being like the child of an incarcerated parent and experiencing parental incarceration, because there's pressure for you to do well, but there's also pressure for you to not do well. It's like you're being pulled in like every single direction because it's like this is what's expected of you, but also like it's expected of you to do poorly, but your family also expects you to do super well. And so you're kind of at odds there of like, what is my life actually going to look like and what is actually in my power? What can I do about the situation? So I think writing the book, which it's called Teen Guide to Living with Incarcerated Parents. I think it was very therapeutic to just be able to write out what I was thinking and write out how I was feeling. And I think that's probably one of the things that got me into journaling. So it's still like, I would say the book was almost like a coping mechanism in a really weird way. But I think something had to click for me because like I have like nieces and nephews that like have also experienced this or are experiencing it. And I thought about them and I thought about like what kind of resources I would want them to have. And so like I think that was kind of like I think that was a moment where something kind of just shifted, and then understanding like how many people were actually impacted by parental incarceration. It was like over 2 million. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that many people were actually experiencing the same thing I was. So I think writing out, just like putting it on paper and understanding how I was feeling and being able to read it back and figure out like, I don't know, like just kind of figuring out like where I was at helped me a lot.